All right, so I checked out a brand new 2025 horror flick on Tubi called Mom. It'll be under 2024, but they always do this where they put that year and it's like, I don't know if it's like festival releases or whatever, but these are like movies that came out for us to see on VOD or on Tubi or whatever in 2025. So whenever I put like 2025, sometimes it can confuse people who are looking for the title on like IMDb or even on Tubi. It says 2024, but from what I can tell, this is an actual 2025 release, or at least that's how I'm going to see it anyway. So what's interesting, if we're talking about years here, this movie was actually filmed all the way back in 2019. Then, because of the COVID pandemic shutdown, it got halted till 2022 for like reshoots, and then it wasn't even finished until 2024. I was wondering because the kid in this is the kid from Sweet Tooth. He's also been in a bunch of other things, most recently the Frankenstein film. And I was like, that's him from like a long time ago. That's like him during the Sweet Tooth first season days. So I was confused on that. So when I looked it up and it said it started in 2019, I was like, oh, wow. And the fact that this had to go through all of the issues that it had to go through, having a kid that age, I'm assuming they had to kind of shoot around that stuff. So that must have been a pain in the ass. But anyway, this is about a mother who's dealing with, postnatal depression, which is a pretty common theme in horror, especially lately. And she comes home from giving birth with the baby, and her husband is starting to question whether or not she's mentally competent enough to take care of her child, but of course he wants to see the best in her and trust her. And yeah, I mean, it's really just her kind of dealing with her demons as she struggles with her depression. Yeah, I mean, this is the type of film we've been seeing quite a lot of lately. We watched another movie, The Beldam, from just like a month or two ago that we really loved, and we've seen tons of films like this lately. So this is becoming like its own subgenre, and because there are so many variations on this, this film does suffer a bit from feeling a little bit been there, done that in a lot of ways, which is kind of unfair because this movie was made back in 2019, and had things gone to plan, this would have actually maybe been one of like the first ones that had come out in this like 5 year string of movies like this. Um, so yeah, while it does have that kind of almost tropiness to it because of all the films that are similar to it that have come out in the last 5 years. And I'm not saying there isn't movies like this pre 2019. There is, but there's just such a large uptick in them that it is starting to feel like this own its own subgenre, as I said, and the tropes are becoming much more evident. Um, so yeah, I will say this. I actually quite liked this movie. I thought that the performance from our lead was very good. I very much believed that she was a woman dealing with mental illness, and watching her kind of, you know, mentally collapse was sad. And another thing that I was pretty impressed with this film is that it makes a pretty bold move about halfway through the film that I wasn't expecting at all, because movies like this typically don't go down that road. And when it did that, I was like, oh, okay. This movie, at least for me, is worth a view now because of that. I really appreciated that aspect. As far as like the horror goes, like the creepy things that are in the house, and little maybe jump scare attempts, and the atmosphere they're trying to build for the horror, that stuff all doesn't really work very well. That's the stuff that feels kind of cheap and tropey, and not just not great. But I was pretty into, despite it, as I said, feeling like a lot of films I've watched recently. There are other films that I would suggest over this that are similar, but I still think it's worth a view if you're really into these types of movies, right? Like if this is a subgenre that you enjoy, you're somebody who enjoys watching, a new mother dealing with her, uh, depression after giving birth, and you know, questioning whether or not she can be around the kid, all that stuff. You know the types of movies. If you love those types of movies, this is a good one. It's not awesome, right? But I think it's better than people are giving it credit for. Like it has a pretty low rating online, which as I said, I don't try to focus on that too much, but I can't help myself. I always got to see what people are saying about it, especially since, I'm always constantly looking for other films. The reason I even pulled the trigger on this one is because of Take It or Leave It reviews, which I saw that they had reviewed this when I went looking for reviews to see if this was worth my time, because I'm always picking between 100 Tubi films. Like, oh God, is this going to be another Adopted or something? So when they said that they liked it, I was like, okay, all right, I'll check it out, and I'm glad I did. I liked it. I think it is a good one of these types of films. So the husband in this was definitely pissing me off for sure. He also reminded me of the actor from the TV show Servant a whole hell of a lot. At first, I actually thought it was him when we had further away shots, but then when I got closer, I was like, oh no, it just is kind of like a knockoff version of that guy. And that also deals with a mother who's completely lost it because of her child. So I thought that that was a funny little connection, I guess is what you could call it. Yeah, yeah. That's it. That's all I got to say. But yeah, the husband was definitely driving me up a wall. And there's some really messed up scenes in here. Actually, there's a couple things. There's something involving a tooth that I was like, oh Jesus Christ, I don't know what the hell I'd do. I definitely think that she is let she should have had someone take her to, a mental health facility earlier, much earlier than happens in the film, for sure. I think that there's some negligence on the behalf of anyone around her in her current state. There's definitely moments where you're like, okay, it's time to call someone, and no one is called. Um, so anyway, yeah, there's that kind of stuff. But you know what, man? A movie that started filming 6 years ago had all sorts of production issues, COVID shutdowns, whatnot. I think this turned out all right. So I liked it. I defend it. Let me know if you check it out. It's on Tubi. Adios.